Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Miami Hurricanes starting to pick it up on the 2024 high school recruiting trail as they land a commitment from top 100 national player, one of the best running backs in the 2024 class from the state of Alabama, in Kevin Riley. We talked about this extensively. Like, Miami was kind of taking some lower 3-stars, some guys that maybe not as much flash as the Miami fans were used to in that 2023 class. And what we kind of were talking about were, hey, when you're going after the big names that Miami and Mario Cristobal is going after, it might take a little bit more time. I mean, you're going with Justin Scott. You're trying to get David Stone. You're trying to get Colin Simmons. You got to take your time with those guys. Those guys are going to take their visits, but we're starting to see a couple elite prospects from the high school ranks trickle in to this Miami 2024 class, and Kevin Riley is the latest. Before we get into what Kevin Riley brings to the table, again, just want to say thank you to you guys, and especially the Miami fans. You guys have shown a ton of love. We've talked a lot of Miami football, transfer portal, high school recruiting. Can't thank you guys enough for all the support. So if you do enjoy the updates, you enjoy talking recruiting, consider subscribing to the channel. You guys know I'm big into the recruiting, so appreciate you guys checking the boys out. And if you do enjoy it, lock in, because I do think it's going to be a busy next couple of weeks for the Miami Hurricanes. Because if you take a look at the amount of talent that they've had on campus the last couple of weeks, this class could still be very special, even though it might have gotten off to a slow start. Now, let's get into Kevin Riley. And the first thing you got to talk about is look at the offer list. I mean, a kid from the state of Alabama, straight SEC territory, and Miami goes and plucks him out of there, offers him Alabama, Auburn, Georgia. This isn't a guy that was kind of under the rug of Georgia and Alabama and off the radar. This is one of the best running backs in the 2024 class, and Mario Cristobal able to go up to the state of Alabama and land a massive win on the recruiting trail. Their number one recruit in their 2024 class. Take a look at the young running backs in this Miami room. One, it's kind of getting evident that Mario Cristobal is going to want to run the ball. Like, you brought in Shannon Dawson, and yes, there are some air raid principles to his offense, but he's hammering the offensive line, brought in probably the best offensive line class in the 2023 class, went to the transfer portal to add more to it, brought in Mark Fletcher in the 2023 class, who's an absolute dog at running back. You guys know my takes on him. And then they go land Kevin Riley. Mario Cristobal and Shannon Dawson, as much as they want to spread defenses out, they're not going to lose that physicality and ability to run the football. And I think that's become evident in what Mario Cristobal is bringing in the transfer portal and in the high school ranks. Let's get into Kevin Riley's film. Not the first Miami running back in the class. You take a look, you have Chris Wheatley-Humphrey, who's a little bit of a smaller back. Kevin Riley is much more of a complete running back. Like, he does everything really solid, right? He's a solid build, 5'11", 200 pounds, probably going to add some weight to that lower half. I'd be surprised. Probably going to be playing around 5'11", 205. But again, does everything well. He has burners to kind of hit the home run ball. He's very good in space, but he also runs the ball very hard between the tackles. You guys will kind of get a sense of what I mean just watching a few of his highlights and how he runs the football. He kind of checks off all the boxes, right? Good vision, hits the gap, and then you see the home run speed. Like, this dude is very fast. Does not have a track background that I know of, but has absolute burners. Like, nobody is catching him. But what's more important, not important, but more impressive, not only does he have burners, but he has some very good contact balance too. Bouncing off a few tackles, taking it to the house again, and then the vision to set up some blocks, pick through the right holes. That's probably the biggest thing you want to see from a high school guy, is knowing how to read his blocks. No, very good putting his foot in the ground, one cut, getting upfield, making people miss at the second level. You're seeing him check off pretty much every single box you want to see a running back check off. I can run between the tackles. Now I can catch out of the backfield too. Again, checking off some boxes. That's actually a very impressive catch right off the shoelaces. But he runs between the tackles. He can run outside the tackles. He has good contact balance. He has good feet picking his. I mean, that's textbook. Picking his way through the offensive line and then in space, making people miss, finishing a hard run for a touchdown. There's not many flaws in his game. And so maybe he's not the elite speed guy. Maybe he's not the elite bruiser, but he's a well-rounded running back. And those are the running backs that are most successful in college football and in the NFL. I think Kevin Riley is a massive get for Miami. Take a look at their class right now, and I don't think they've added Kevin Riley in there, but now cracking the top 30. You got Kevin Riley and Chance Robinson, Elijah Lofton. You're starting to see some of these elite 4-star, 5-star guys kind of start to trickle into this Miami class. But what's more exciting is, again, going back to what's been on campus. We already recapped the absolute dynamite recruiting weekend they had. We're going to go take a look at it again. Friday, June 9th, throughout the weekend, Alice Robinson, David Stone, Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart, Aiden Breland, Jarrett Gibson, probably off the board now. Was a Texas lean that whole time. LJ McCray. Mario Cristobal is going after the best defensive line group, and it's evident. That's the position that he wants to address the most. He wanted to address it in the transfer portal. Now he's going to the high school ranks to really address it, and you're seeing him clearly go after those top guys. Then you take a look at who was on campus last weekend. Justin Scott, arguably the best defensive lineman in this class, 5-star from Chicago. It seems like Miami's really rolling out the red carpet for him. He seems to be the crown jewel of this class, and it does seem like they're trending to land his commitment. You get Kevin Riley. Want to know a really interesting one? Elias Rudolph, as a Michigan fan, I'm pretty familiar with Elias Rudolph because it's between Miami and Michigan, right? He comes off his Miami official visit this weekend, cancels his official visit to Ohio State the next weekend, saying he's committing on July 3rd now. So it seems like Michigan, Miami, we'll be breaking it down either way, whether it's Michigan or Miami. But he's an interesting guy. 6'4", 205, going to play that edge position. Played his high school football in Ohio and is transferring down to Deerfield Beach, Florida for his senior year. Probably getting used to the weather. Probably likes the sunshine a lot more than it is in Ohio. So I think Miami has a good shot at landing a guy like Elias Rudolph. And again, a little bit more of a developmental guy, but a lot of the fans, Miami fans, have kind of reminded me in the comment section, and we talk about this a lot. Having young recruiters that can connect with these guys is massive, and Jason Taylor being added to this Miami staff, I think that's why you're in the running for so many elite defensive linemen. When you have the pedigree of being a Hall of Famer, being a relatively young coach who can kind of connect with these young athletes out of high school, it's massive, and I think it explains a lot of the traction that Miami's been getting on the trail with some of those guys on the defensive line. Elias Rudolph being one of them. Again, he's going to have to put on some weight. He's kind of a raw prospect, but there's a reason Ohio State, Michigan, Miami all in on him. Another guy to keep an eye on, Jaden Jackson. The IMG pipeline, they're trying to get that going. Florida, Miami kind of battling for a lot of those guys. Jaden Jackson, although maybe only outside the top 400 nationally according to the composite rankings of 24/7, you check out his offer list. He's a guy that is coveted by every single Power 5 school in the country, right? Was at Ohio State, was at Florida, was at Miami. A lot of programs want a guy like Jaden Jackson, and for good reason. I mean, he is one of the more ready players. Like, he can step on a field as a true freshman and make some noise. And so Miami, again, although it was a slow start to the class, we kind of were saying you got to take your time. You got to let Mario Cristobal really dig into this recruiting process, especially when you're going after the caliber players Miami's going after. They locked in a lot of their guys early who were kind of their early takes, guys to get into the class, some of the guys that may be a little off their radar that Miami identified. And now they're going whale hunt. They're going big whale hunt with guys like Justin Scott, David Stone, Dylan Stewart, Colin Simmons. They're kind of making interesting one. Jeremiah Smith, I saw this pop up. He's taking a visit. He's making his rounds to the Florida schools. Florida State, Miami. I don't know if there's much buzz around Miami, but he is taking an official visit, which is interesting. And hey, you've seen what Miami is doing on these official visit weekends. Like, they are, I mean, it's to the nines. Like, Ritz-Carlton Hotel, a beautiful, beautiful dinners. So you never really know. And then taking a look at this last weekend, some really, really good prospects coming in as well this last weekend, specifically on that offensive line. I mean, a guy like Isandra Afua from Seattle, Washington, making the trip cross country. Miami wants a kind of guy like this, right? They went out and got Matt Lee, Javion Cohen. They want some big bodies on that inside to help establish that run. Caleb Oden, another guy to take a look at. Some really good talent coming on Miami's campus the next couple weeks. Miami fans, like, and we've said this a lot. You got to stay tuned. Like, I get it was a little bit of a slow start, but Miami starting to crank it up. And again, there's no better recruiter in the country than Mario Cristobal. Like, in terms of a dog on a bone, a guy that's going to text recruits every single morning, text the parents, text the high school coaches. That's Mario Cristobal. That dude does not sleep. He consistently recruits. You're going to see the talent acquisition work out. Miami is a destination place. It's a blue blood of college football combined with one of the coaches that's best in the game at talent acquisition. Recruiting is going to be just fine in Miami. Now you got to see it happen on Saturdays. And it's another good point is if Miami starts winning some football games on Saturday, keep them at what they go 5-7 last year. Like it's normally would be hard to get guys coming in with that poor of a record. I think a lot of these top recruits might say, you put 8, 9, 10 wins together in 2023, and then you really start to see it take off. Wanted to leave it at that, but Miami gets another big one in Kevin Riley. Appreciate you guys again. The Miami fans, you guys have been absolutely awesome. Appreciate you supporting the boys, and we'll talk to y'all later.